Are you a sad individual living under a Parisian opera house and dropping chandeliers on people's heads for fun? Well, you may want to stop because that's a crime and get yourself a podcast. How do you do that? Easy. It's with Anchor. Anchor is a totally free app and website, and you can record from your phone or your computer. You don't need fancy smancy equipment. Seriously, I have recorded podcasts from my bathtub while I was bathing. Anchor is free and super easy to use. Anchor has really simple podcasting tools. You sign up and then you start podcasting. It really is that simple. Within an hour of starting my podcast, I was already distributed on Spotify. Now I'm on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Breaker, and Radio Public. So look for the app or the website. The website is anchor.fm, and the app, just go to your friendly local app store and look up Anchor. That's ANCHOR. Happy podcasting! The walls at the mall are totally tall, for sure. Today we will be discussing the OC Season 2, Episode 15, The Malpazid, which still, for some reason, sounds dirty to me. I don't know why. I've asked people if they thought the same. They don't. It's just me. Whatever. On we go. Brian is in the pool house moping because Lindsay has chosen to leave, and he's sad because, well, everybody left him. He's, thought that he got to a place where he wouldn't get abandoned, but the dude still has, serious abandonment issues. And so Seth comes in and he's like, come on, let's go to breakfast. It's time to cheer up. I mean, that's what I did for you. And Ryan's like, no, actually, I left you alone, like you asked me to, and said, you needed your space. And Seth's like, whatever, let's go get pancakes. And Ryan finally gets really annoyed, and he's like, just stop it. And Seth gets hurt, and then Brian apologizes to him, and then he explains the thing about being abandoned. And then Seth leaves, and Brian starts packing. Cue theme song. Da 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 da. I can't sing. We have Sandy and Kirsten, presumably the next morning after she picked them up at the bus station, or bus stop, I'm not sure, but, things are awkward. They're really awkward. And Sandy's trying to be nice, and Kirsten's like, oh, but if we pretend nothing happened, and Sandy's like, nothing did happen. And then he notices that Kirsten isn't wearing her wedding ring, and she's like, well, I don't know where it is. And he's like, well, it probably went down the sink, and we'll make sure to find it. And Kirsten's like, well, it's probably not lost. So then she goes out to work and is in her office talking to Julie about the magazine, and Julie is asking why she can't edit it, and Kirsten's like, because you've never edited a magazine before, you doofus. I mean, she doesn't say that, but it's kind of implied. And Julie complains that the editor, did something called The Ugly Americans, and she's like, but I want to write about beautiful Americans. And Kirsten's like, yeah, whatever. And then Julie is at the window, and she happens to see somebody talking to our receptionist, and this guy, Lance, is looking for her, and she looks away all shocked. Now, I remember what happens with this storyline. I don't remember seeing this episode, but I do remember what happens with this. So this will be interesting. So meanwhile, Sandy is at home, and he's down under the sink doing some plumbing, and Caleb comes in. He's like, aha, I finally see you found your calling. And it's like, really, Caleb, don't be classless and shit on plumbers, because they make the world go round. So, off with you. And quite frankly, I would much rather spend time with a plumber than Caleb Nickel. So anyway, he whines about Lindsay and is like, oh, I lost her. And it's like, dude, you chased her away. everything was fine until you put conditions on your fatherhood. You have nobody to blame but yourself. So anyway, then Seth comes in and he makes the same joke that Caleb did. And then they're talking for a while, and then he goes out to the pool house because when he was with Summer for their date at the diner, she was like, "Oh, well, let's all go to the mall together." And Seth was like, yeah, that'll really help Ryan feel better." And Summer's like, you gotta, like, not give up on your friends, and is, like, being all nice and stuff. So that's what Seth was doing. He was going to get Ryan. And Ryan is not there, and he left a note. So Seth snatches the keys and gets to the bus station and is like, "Ryan, you should come home." And Ryan's like, "No, I'm just gonna go to Chicago. I'm not gonna stay there. I just want to see Lindsay." And Seth, correctly mad at it, is like, yeah, Lindsay has had enough surprises, so you might want to tone that down. Come to the mall with me and Summer and Marissa, and if you still feel like you need to see Lindsay, fine. I will drive you to the bus station. I will make an excuse for my parents, and it'll be fine. And Ryan's like, okay. So Marissa apparently cannot do laundry. Like, she's supposed to be 17, right? No, 16. Because they graduate in season 3. So yeah, she would be 16, maybe just turned 17. I know that Alex is 17. I don't know. But anyway, so how, like, I don't know, it just seems like a basic skill. Like, even if you never have to worry about, it's a... Does this go back to the thing where Caleb was complaining that, like, he couldn't do his laundry without Julie because, like, they never had a washer and dryer? That's so weird to think about. Like, I can't imagine being so rich that you wouldn't feel the need to have a washer and dryer. Like, to me, that denotes you're broke. You know? Like, if you don't have a washer and dryer, you are broke. I don't know. I've never been rich, so maybe I'd feel differently about that. So anyway, she tried. Our girl Marissa, she honestly tried, and she turned all their clothing pink. And Alex is like, this isn't good. And Marissa's like, who knew? You need to separate the laundry. And Alex is like, everybody who has done laundry, which is funny because I don't separate the laundry. Like, I've never had any problem with colors bleeding, so I don't know what that's about. Maybe, like, rich people just, I don't know. But I've never bothered with the separating of the laundry. So, yeah. So, Marissa asks if she and Alex can do something, and, like, Alex is like, yeah, I gotta work. And she's kind of snappy about it, and I get it. Like, seriously, Alex is the same age as Marissa, and Marissa has been, like, living like a carefree kid, and Alex has basically been an adult because, you know, she's emancipated even though she's a minor, so in the eyes of the law, she's not really a minor, you know what I mean? Like, and then, like, Marissa's just, like, flitting about, la la la. I'd be kind of irritated too. You know, but she's like, well, maybe we can do something later and, like, sit by the water and order takeout. And Marissa's like, fine. And then Alex says that they're late on the rent, so avoid the landlord, who apparently is a big fat guy with an I Heart NASCAR tattoo. Only she never says where the tattoo is, so I'm gonna imagine that it's on this dude's forehead. So later on, Summer comes over to invite Marissa to the mall, and she's like, well, I'm sure that you and Alex have edgy plans. And Marissa's like, no, I want to go now. Because she was, like, picking up recycling, like, beer bottles, and there was something about skunked beer, which, good grief, how much beer do they drink? But anyway, so they go. Caleb and Cindy are having drinks, and apparently Caleb was very helpful with the plumbing, and he says his reasoning is that he feels like crap for alienating Lindsay and wants to do something nice for one of his daughters. Sandy ends up explaining the thing about Rebecca, and they talk about Kirsten's ring, which apparently Sandy worked very hard for, and the original one he got her, he apparently got it at an arcade, and Kirsten wore it for months, which is very sweet, and points out what a fool Rebecca was. Like, seriously, I'm sorry, if there was a dude like Sandy, I'd be willing to face this sentence. Like, because apparently, like, she didn't even, like, have family or friends, or, like, anybody would miss her wherever she was. That's just sad. So, anyway, Julie and Kirsten are at the office. They're looking at proofs for the magazine, and surprise, surprise, they're all pictures of Julie. And Kirsten's like, don't you think you want some pictures of Newport for your Newport magazine? And Julie's like, hello, if they want to go to the beach, they could walk out and look at the beach. They want to look at more. And then a guy comes in, and turns out his name is Carter. He's the editor, and he doesn't want to be there any more than Julie wants him, and basically says, you know what? Do what you want to. That's just fine. I'll let you do whatever, and I will collect my paycheck. So, Summer and Seth and Marissa and Ryan end up going to the mall, and they go to the back of the store to get the clothing for the women's shelter drive, and the sales girl, who I swear this woman looks so familiar, but I don't know, I can't think of her name. Like, I know I've seen her in something recently, and I'm gonna feel really silly. But anyway, so she's like, these clothes are tragic. And it's like, wow, that's so sensitive of you. So they're in there, like, getting ready to organize clothes. Like, Seth and Summer are smooching and generally being obnoxious. And Ryan's like, yeah, I'll do pants. And he tells Marissa to, like, do shirts. And they're like, yeah, okay, sure. And they're working and they're ready to leave, but the door is locked. Dun dun dun. So anyway, we get to Alice coming home, and she looks around and nobody's there, so she calls Marissa and leaves a message. So they realize at the mall that their cells have no service, and they're trying to figure out what to do. Seth unsuccessfully tries to pick a lock after trying to get Ryan to do it, and Ryan's like, why would you think I'm good at picking locks? And it's like, I'm sorry not to be offensive, but dude, you were busted for stealing cars, so it's actually not a bad assumption that you would know how to pick locks. I mean, it's not exactly the same skill sets, but they kind of go hand in hand, you know? I don't think that's that offensive. So, oh, excuse me. I'm so sorry about that. I didn't get a chance to hit pause. But anyway, Summer points out a vent which is miraculously big enough for Ryan to fit through. And so Seth and Ryan go crawling through the vents trying to find a way, and they're talking, and Seth's like blah 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 about, Marissa, and Ryan's like, and I told you to be quiet, and Seth's like, oh yeah, sorry about that, and Ryan's like, no, thank you for bringing me out of my shell, and Seth's like, oh yay, and then he falls through a thing in the floor, and miraculously doesn't, like, break anything. There's, like, the sound of broken glass, but, like, when you see him in the next scene, he's perfectly fine, so go figure. But, anyway, so while this is happening, Summer and Marissa are talking, and they're talking about her relationship with Ryan, and Marissa's like, look, the only person that I've honestly been in love with is Ryan, but what they don't know is that Ryan can hear them, because Seth was underneath the vent and going back to open and unlock the door, which thankfully it wasn't a keypad lock, because yeah, they would have been screwed. So they're done talking, and Seth kind of walks in, and he's like, oh, hi, Ryan. And then boom, Ryan's outed because they realize that he must have been there the whole time, and everything seems like it's gonna be really, really awkward.
And now it's time for a quick break.
So Summer, Seth, Marissa, and Ryan are stuck in the mall, and they decide to stay in the mall based on logic that, you know, they'll be fine and nobody will see them, and that the mall opens at 10 a.m. and then they just go and have McMuffins. Which, no, I mean, there are people who come before the stores open in the mall. Like, malls usually open at like 8, I think, because like there are mall walkers and they walk around the mall before the malls open. So like, yeah, it's very silly and just shows how out of touch with reality they are. Even Ryan, who doesn't point this out, but maybe he just doesn't spend much time in malls, so that actually kind of makes sense. So they decide to hang around the mall, and then they decide to play a game of hockey to determine who gets to sleep where. And they actually call home. Marissa calls Alex. Summer calls home and talks to, I don't know, like if it's the help or her mom, because she mentions her dad. But anyway, they both lie. Seth tells the truth, and Ryan doesn't call anybody because Seth took care of that for them. So, yeah, so then the hockey games happen, and apparently none of them are considering that there would be security because they're just like wandering around grabbing stuff, and when they're playing hockey, a ball goes down the escalator, and they go and grab it, and they completely fail to notice that there's a camera, like a motion sensor camera too. So that's weird. Seth notices the postcard in Summer's bag and flips out about it, and there's this big thing where he's like, oh, I want to know what's in it, and Summer's like, we're just friends, it doesn't matter, you should trust me. And then Marissa and Ryan come up, and there's like awkward tension between them, and so anyway, get back to that, because Alex calls, but that happens a little while later. So Julie Julie, Carter, and Kirsten are at a restaurant having a drink, and who is at the bar but the mysterious Lance? And Lance basically makes innuendo, and he's like, oh, I was your first. And she's like, yeah, whatever. So anyway, he passes her something to her, which turns out to be porn. And Julie gets very freaked out and leaves, claiming that she had food poisoning. And Kirsten's like, but we haven't eaten yet. So anyway, she's home watching the video, which is her, like, I guess it's supposed to be in the 80s because she's wearing workout gear, like extremely 80s looking workout gear, and apparently her character is supposed to have amnesia? It's really confusing. So, anyway, Alex comes in and she's like, where's Marissa? Because Marissa had said in her message that she was at Julie's, and Julie's like, look, Marissa is using you to get back at me. And believe it or not, she doesn't do it in a mean way. Like, I think she does it in the nicest way that Julie knows how. And it's one of the things where she's kind of right, but she's wrong to say it. Like, at least in that regard. Because, yeah, part of it is because Marissa is rebelling. She's realizing that she has all these options that she's never taken advantage of before. And one of the joys is pissing off the woman who basically put her in a box that she actively resents being in. But like, I don't think it's entirely conscious, which is really interesting. It's an interesting dilemma, and I'm actually having a lot of more sympathy for the way Alex acts later on, because like, I could understand a lot of anger, like feeling used by somebody who you're really into. But anyway, she's like I've known my daughter, and like the only one she like really loved looked different in a white beater. And it's like, look, Olivia Wilde looks great in a white beater. Don't be making those aspersions, Julie. I mean, come on. But anyway, so we have Caleb and Sandy who are teaming up, and I really like this scene. I thought it was really cute because Sandy, like his son Seth, wants to make a grand thing to present to Kirsten and give her another ring from the arcade, and he keeps on ending up with keychains. So Caleb is there helping him, I guess, to like continue to make Kirsten happy, to make up for what he did to Lindsay, and they're gonna try. And Caleb's like, you don't need a piece of plastic to impress her. Just tell her how you feel. And I thought that was a really nice scene. So anyway, there's Marissa and Ryan. I keep on wanting to say Alex, but no, it's Marissa and Ryan in tent, and they're arguing over who gets to sleep in it, and Marissa's like, it can fit 4 people. It'll fit 2 of us just fine. And then Alex calls, and Marissa lies and says that oh no, I decided not to be at Julie's. I'm with Summer at her place. And like, Ryan just like gives her this look, and she's like, look, it's not that I think she's jealous, it's just I think that she would be bummed about missing all this. And Ryan's like, sure, whatever. Kirsten and Carter are sitting in the restaurant talking, and man, Carter is a douche. Like, seriously, they're talking, and Kirsten's saying like, well, what's your story about the magazine you had, The Ugly American? It was the most popular travel magazine, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, oh, well, there was a bender and I was getting divorced. And about how he realized his wife wasn't in love with him when he saw her wedding ring by the kitchen sink. And it's like, okay, I mean, maybe she wasn't in love with you, but that's not anywhere indicative of like not loving somebody. I mean, that's ridiculous. And then he's like, oh, you're not wearing a wedding ring, like that means anything. And Kirsten's like, well, I lost it, I took it off and I couldn't find it. And he's like, oh, well, that means a lot. And it's like, how is this anyway appropriate for a business conversation? Oh my gosh, it's so gross and off-putting, and I hate Carter. But anyway, back at the mall, Summer and Seth are still arguing over Zach's postcard, and like, it's getting pretty bad because like, Seth's like, oh, why won't you tell me? And Summer's like, it's none of your business, and it really isn't. And like, just the way Seth is acting, I wouldn't want to tell him anyway, just to be spiteful. But anyway, Marissa and Brian are in the tent, and they are reminiscing over Thanksgiving, where Summer went over to Seth's place, and he was chilling with Anna, and she was very upset. And they were stealing cards for Trey. And Ryan's like, huh, well, that's my brother. And they're getting along pretty well until Summer and Seth rush in, and they're like, there are people here, we gotta go. And somehow they have the time to set up mannequins sitting in the tent watching the valley. I'm not sure how, but okay, sure, that's the thing that could happen. because maybe they put the hockey mask on those mannequins before, so they were just there. But anyway, the guards find that, and the core four escape and go to eat burgers and chili fries. And Julie, poor Julie, Lance calls her, and I'm not sure how he got her number. Like, is her private number publicly listed in the phone book? I'm not sure. But anyway, so he calls her, and she's like, okay, fine, I'll give you $50,000. And he's like, no, I want $500,000 or I'll sell this tape on the internet. And it's like, what do I tell people? She says. And he's like, well, you can tell them that, your mother was sick and your sister was pregnant or whatever, and honestly, why not? Like, seriously, she needed the money. She was desperate. Somebody took advantage of her. Like, how, I don't know, but then again, it's Caleb and he's a horrible person, so she's probably right to be terrified. Anyway, so yeah, that's what's going on here. The core four are still in the car, and Summer and Seth are still arguing about Zach's postcard, and it's just getting really obnoxious. So they stop at a diner, and Marissa, Ryan, are getting out, and they're like, yeah, we'll go in, we'll save you both. Okay, bye. And Seth and Summer are left in the car, and finally, they come to an agreement that they'll stop arguing if Summer shows them the postcard, and it's nothing. It's shocker. I know. It's like Zach was being nice, and like at the end, he's like, "Say hi to Seth." That's it. So they realize that they've been being horrible, and that couple that nobody wants to be around, and they're like, "Oh no, Marissa and Ryan seem stable compared to us," which, yeah, kinda. But yeah, so and Marissa and Ryan are in the diner, and they're talking about how now they've basically been apart more than they've been together, and it seems like they're strangers. And Marissa's like, okay, so who are you? And Ryan says, with a french fry in his mouth, whoever you want me to be, which, if you don't remember, is what he said in the pilot when he first met Marissa, which I still feel is weirdly out of character. But at that time, he was smoking a cigarette, so... And apparently, at that time, Marissa had never seen a cigarette in her life, so that scene... Like, if you go back to watch that scene, it's very funny, but I don't think it was intended to be. It just is. So, anyway, Sandy is waiting in the bedroom, and Kirsten comes home, and she's like, oh, I didn't know that it would be so late. And Sandy's like, look, I'm sorry for making you ever think that I doubted our love. And he puts a ring on her finger that is from an arcade, and then goes to take a shower, and Kirsten goes to her bedside table, whatever, and pulls out a drawer, and voila, there is the ring, which I'm sure everybody figured out. She didn't really lose it, because that looks like a pretty pricey ring, and that seems like something that you'd be more freaked out over, just because, I mean, not only monetary value, but because of, what it would mean. Even if she was having doubts about Sandy, I mean, Price isn't, their years together. Her reaction just seemed off from the beginning. I don't know, man. But in between this are shots of Alex and Julie looking very sad for various different reasons. And that is the end of the episode. Hope you enjoyed listening as much as I enjoyed making it. Bye!